Hi, this is Liam from Global Media Networks with the Business Roundup for the week. Just taking a look at what happened the past week, we see that Riverina Hotels was delisted with effect Friday the 14th of December pursuant to the amalgamation of the company with Palm Garden Hotels PLC. Consequently, Palm has issued 7,091,005 shares to be equivalent with the number of shares were in issue of Riverina Hotels. Now, and also the Colombo District Court on Friday dismissed the petition filed by Nihasri Amasekra seeking an order for the liquidation of hotel developers Lanka company. Now, District Court Judge R.A. Ranaraja held that the petitioner is not entitled to pursue the case further since the petitioner is not a shareholder anymore. Sri Lanka Insurance Life Fund was on the selling side of Sampath Bank, with bulk of the buying coming from captains around 327,184 shares of Sampath Bank traded last week for 65 million rupees, and SLIC Life Fund sold 40 million rupees worth of shares, and a senior business leader sold the captain's family, whose stake is over 5%, was on the buying side. As of September 2012, SLIC Life Fund held around 2.6 million shares, or you can call it a 1.6% stake in Sampath Bank. Nation Saving Bank was among major sellers of Chevron Lubricants Lanka PLC to foreign investors last week as the price of the multinational gained for the second consecutive week. Now, NSB sold around 250,000 shares for 50 million, whilst JB Coco Shell was the other major seller, shedding a 200,000 shares as of September 2012. NSB held 1.15 million shares in LWB, down from 1.27 million shares a year earlier. Now, around 566,600 shares of LBT traded last week for 113 million. It closed the week at 197.97 rupees 50 cents, up by 4 rupees 30 cents. Now, the previous week, LBT rose by 6 rupees 20 cents. A frontier market emerging fund invested in 100 million rupees in collecting the bulk of the shares. Leading Swiss hospitality brand in the world, Movenpick, is upbeat on Sri Lanka's tourism industry prospects, giving its confidence about its first ever hotel in the city, whilst looking for opportunities in a beach resort. Now, in partnership with Softlogic Holdings PLC, the Swiss giant is busy rolling out the first hotel in Sri Lanka with 200-room 5-star property in Kapiti. Sri Lanka's credit to private businesses rose 29.5 billion rupees to 2,324.4 billion, as loans to state enterprises fell by 17.3 billion rupees to 254.6 billion rupees. Now, credit to the central government rose 7.6 billion rupees to 1,042 billion rupees, with central bank outstanding falling at 12 billion rupees to 320 billion rupees by the end of the month, official data showed. We also see that Asiri Hospitals Holdings purchased 7,303,257 shares, which is 32.7% stake of Asiri Central Hospitals, which is also known as ASHA, at a price of 250 rupees per share from Asiri Surgical Hospital. Now, the amount of transaction is approximately 1,825 million rupees. The rationale for the said transaction was to increase Asiri Hospital Holdings' stake in Asiri Central Hospitals in order to consolidate the shareholding of the entity in the group companies as a part of the Asiri Group restructuring. After the acquisition, Asiri holds about 88.48% of the share capital of Asiri Central Hospitals. Now, Fitch Ratings has given a mixed view on Sri Lanka's sovereign in the latest overview. Now, the rating agency noted that while Sri Lanka's external pressures are easing, the currency exposure is stalling fiscal improvements. However, acknowledging the fiscal consolidation, strong growth, and lower inflation. Fitch has affirmed Sri Lanka's foreign currency and local currency ratings with a BB negative with a positive outlook. Among key ratings drivers listed by Fitch were politically stable and policy consistency to deliver sustainable balance of payments. Sustained strong growth and improvements to the investment climate, as well as credible fiscal consolidation to put public debt on a more sustainable path. We also see that Sri Lanka's tourist arrivals rose at 20.1% to 109,202 in November from a year earlier, with arrivals up to November going up 16% to 883,353. Data from the State Tourist Promotion Office showed. Now, arrivals from Western Europe rose 17.2% to 35,892 in November, with a total of 11 months also up 17% to 329,364. Visitors from the UK rose 12.9% to 10,828 in November from a year earlier. Arrivals from Germany rose 16.6% to 8,161 from France, up 16.3% to 505,441 from Netherlands, up 10.6% to 2,310, and Italy up 2.1% to 1,289. Looking at more news, we see that Fitch Ratings said its Release PLC has been rated with AAA with a stable outlook, helped by its market leadership in spirits, steady demand, and entry barriers to new entrants. Now, BOI yesterday has signed an agreement with Havelock City Limited to establish a mixed development project, which will include a shopping mall with a multiplex cinema, restaurants, shops, entertainment areas, and an office complex. The value of the investment is over 27 billion rupees. Now, this project will provide an estimated 243 direct employment opportunities. Deutsche Investitions and a German investment corporation in Netherlands, a Netherlands development finance company, are to invest in Asian Alliance PLC, a subsidiary of Suffragette Holdings, purchasing a 38% stake of 1.8 billion rupees on the basis of 14.2 million shares at 128 rupees each. We also see that Renika Shawwal's PLC, formerly known as Lanka, is yet to disclose the fate of its rights issue, even though 2 weeks have elapsed since its closure. The company went for a 5 or 4 share rights issue for both voting and non-voting shares at 35 rupees and 28 rupees respectively per share, aimed at raising 1 billion rupees. Now, though the issue closed on the 7th of December, the company hasn't disclosed whether it was oversubscribed or undersubscribed. Now, post-rights issue, a subdivision of shares into 2, is pending as well based on the shareholding as at the trading of the 3rd of January 2013. Looking at some more news, we see the public investments should also generate foreign exchange income. It says that foreign funded public investment projects should have the capacity to help the economy to generate foreign exchange income, and the absence of such cost benefits can lead to external debt financing difficulties in the medium to long run, a research company has pointed out. Now, Asia Work Research Division Leisure Capital, in a report titled Provisional and Long-Term Trends in Sri Lanka's Fiscal Operations, says large-scale infrastructure projects of the government in the future must flow into sectors which would, in their return, activate self-expansive properties to private industries if they are to assist development process in the company and remain economically productive. Lastly, looking at the imports, we see a high percentage of consumer tax earned from imports could make countries' tax streams subject to external conditions. in the face of drops in imports, a research report again pointed out. Again, the same report provided by Asia Wealth Research, it says that it points out that the drop in imports due to recent corrective measures adopted by the monetary and fiscal authorities to improve economies' external and financial stability could bring down the volume of consumer tax. Now, with that, I round up the news for today. Thank you very much for listening, and see you again next week.